Guys, welcome to Limitless, our podcast. Today we're doing something very special, something very different. So I'm going to bring in our co-host and our special guest as well today. We've got, let's bring our co-host in first. So the voice of the people, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Christina Tinder all the way from Los Angeles. How you doing, Chrissy?
Well, hello, Amir Zoghi. I'm good. I'm missing everyone. I'm back in LA now. Missing you all, just getting back from Australia.
Yeah.
Coming off the retreat.
Yeah, awesome. Well, we've also got Danny here. So Danny is from Stockholm in Sweden. You might be thinking, well, who's Danny? Well, Danny was just at the retreat with us. So I thought I would invite him, and he's a friend of mine. And so Danny, welcome.
Thank you.
Good to have you here.
Good to be here.
Yeah, so we thought we'd do something different today. Christina, you're on the TV screen. We can see you there. You're from Los Angeles, but you were just here a week ago. We should have done this a week ago, but we only came up with the idea about 2 days ago. Yeah.
How amazing, though, that we can still connect like this.
That's right. Use a bit of technology, bit of the guys here in the studio, and we can all connect together. So, Chrissy, I spoke to you a couple of days ago, which is when we were due to actually record this podcast, and I said, well, Chrissy, we're going to do you called me and said, are we going to do a podcast tomorrow? I went, yeah. I go, well, what's the podcast about tomorrow? And you said, well, I want to do something about, a post-retreat. We just ran the retreat. This is an annual retreat I run for my one of my groups here, my coaching groups. And you said, I want to do a post, kind of just, behind the scenes of the retreat. Yeah.
Share a little bit of the magic with everyone.
Yeah. And then I said to you, you know what? I just caught up with Danny the other day, and he's still in Australia. Most of the retreat attendees, I would say 75% of them have flown into this retreat. And Danny he's still lingering here, So
One more day.
You got one more day and you go home. So I said, well, why don't we invite Danny to be part of this podcast, because he was at the retreat, and he can correct any bullshit that I make up about the retreat and go, no, that's not what happened, or and to be honest, it is very unplanned. I just thought it would be awesome to actually invite, one of our clients to actually, participate in where this conversation goes. So hold on to your seats, get grounded, take a deep breath, and let's go. So Danny, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling good, actually.
Yeah, good. Let's get that just a touch closer, because I know you got a sexy, deep podcast voice, and I want to use it.
Okay.
Oh, that's good. Give us that bump. Give us one of those.
How do you do that? Bump, chicken, bump.
Just say brown chicken, brown cow. Brown chicken, brown cow.
Brown chicken, brown cow.
Boom,
there you
boom.
Go.
Anyway, stop being silly. Let's go. So yeah, guys, I knew this is going to be fun to do. So let's get started. Christina, as always, we are in your hands, because you are somebody who has a great ability to hold space and drive the conversations, get stuff out of the people who are sharing this space together right now. So. Yeah.
Well, thanks for that. I would love to share with our listeners today, what it's like to be at one of the retreats. It's such a special experience. And, I actually reflected on a previous episode that you and I recorded together prior to a previous retreat, where I was asking you just about your process and what it's like. How do you plan? How do you get ready for a retreat? And you said, I don't plan. And I believe the title of that episode, if anybody ever wants to go back to it, is that preparation is more powerful than planning. And so I'm just wondering, for you, has the preparation for your retreats, has that changed at all in recent times?
It's interesting. Danny's laughing because we were just speaking about this over brunch about an hour ago. And I was telling Danny, this is the most unprepared I've ever been for a retreat. And it sounds like that's terrible. But I don't normally plan, but I do. Look, let's go back. Let's go back to my very first retreat. Now, the very first retreat I ran, which is, I think we worked this out the other day. It was like 2000 and, oh goodness. I think 10, did she say? Kira was.
Yeah, 2010 is what she said.
2000. So 2010 was my very first retreat, and the person who helped me run that was Kira. She was working with me back then. So some of you may know Kira Sherman, who is now a coach and a facilitator of similar work, same work. And anyway, so we were talking about this at the retreat, and when that very first retreat, the reason I put that retreat on first of all is because I would be just doing my signatory weekend program, and that was the only program I had. I had no coaching programs, I had no retreats, and I would get all these people who would keep coming back to this weekend program that I would run, which back then was the WTF experience. Now it's known as Limitless. Well, a version of that has become Limitless. So anyway, long story short, people kept saying, can you do a retreat? Can you do a retreat? So one day I went, let's just do a retreat. And the reason I was holding back to doing a retreat was I was like, what am I going to run a retreat about? Like, I didn't know what I was going to do. And for those who know me, a lot of the things that I share, I never know what I'm going to do, including the WTF experience. The first time I actually knew what that program was about was when I delivered it for the first time. There was no plan. It was just like, hey, my intuition was like, it will come to you when you get up on stage. And so anyway, to keep this about the retreat, I thought to myself, well, I don't know, just do the same for the retreat. It will come to me when I'm there. So I did this retreat where people registered for the program, the retreat, and of course there was a line of people who wanted to do it, so it was pretty easy to fill up that first retreat. And so I arrived there, and they had this room for me, which my team or Kira had booked, and there was just there was a chair at the front of the room, and the rest of the room was just theater style. And I sat down and I just was like, hey guys, well, welcome to the very first retreat, 2010. I called it the One Retreat, and it's still called the One Retreat. And then I was just like, this doesn't feel right. And I was like, you know what, let's sit in a circle. And that's where the circle was born. And a lot of my coaching work or retreats are all now, I use the circle. It's very profound because in a circle, you can't really hide. No one's hiding. And we're also, which is not as scary as you think, right? What's beautiful about not hiding is that you get to reflect and see yourself in other people, and whether that's your own emotions, or your own love and joy, or your own barriers, you get to reflect that. Yeah, all of it, So that's how the first retreat was ever born. It was like, from there I just went with whatever came up. So my Chrissy, stop me if I'm going off track here.
No.
Yeah,
that's what you're right on track.
Okay, so this retreat that we put together, one of our team members, Leah, who's pretty much we call her boss lady. She runs the show. She's in France, and she was meant to come to this retreat, or she was going to, and couldn't get babysitting for her child. So last minute, she didn't end up coming. And about a week or two towards this retreat, besides actually meeting with one of my team members, Jared, to actually talk about the catering for the retreat, I had nothing prepared, because normally I show up empty, I show up unplanned, right? I don't know what's going to take place in this retreat, and I'm happy with that. But normally I have a team around me that is putting things together. Like, there's a registration list, there's waivers some people signed, there's music, there's all kinds of different, the times, and when we're going to have our breaks, and they become the communication between the clients, me, or I should say the event, and the actual event organizers or the venue. There's a lot that goes on behind the scenes, but in this very retreat, I didn't even have that organized, and And it's kind of weird, but I didn't mind. You know, I was just like, I just know it's going to work out. And I showed up, and I mean, Christina, like, you booked your flights to come to that retreat. What? How many days out? A week out, or?
It was less than a week.
Yeah.
But just shy of a week. Yeah, and I didn't have any plan to. You know, I knew I would be kind of part of the team because, you know, I'm on the team, but I didn't know what my role was going to turn out to be when I was there either. It just like happened very organically. I was very happy to step in as I did and take care of the things that I did, and, you know, do the sound for, you know, the meditations and just oversee things. I love that role, but I didn't know that was going to be my role.
Yeah, well, my point is, well, that's not your role within this organization. It's not, you're not the event manager. The person who was going to come to the event wasn't coming. The other person that could kind of take over that person, Leah, who was going to meant to run the event, wasn't coming, I should say. Then the other person that could assist running the event is Jared, and his wife is about to give birth. Well, she's due in 2 weeks. And he was like, I'm kind of nervous about coming, you know, just in case the baby comes earlier, which is what happens usually when you have a second child, they sometimes come earlier. And so he says, I really don't feel comfortable coming. And I said, well, don't come. And the whole point is, I just went, well, I'm going to go. And like, I'm not, to be honest, I don't even think about it. And here we are, we were at the event, and Christina, you're like, okay, what am I going to do? I'm going to run this event. And like, it wasn't even spoken about. I didn't say, we didn't even talk about it. I didn't say, hey, Chrissy, can you run this event? Like, can you, I was just like, it just was assumed. Like, you just assumed the role. Like,
I didn't even really think about it either. I just stepped into that and started doing it, and then it was like, this is what I'm doing. And it was a really great process for me, actually, because it's, you know, you talk about this stuff all the time, how you just find yourself in the flow, like doing the things, and that's how I found myself. It was like there wasn't a lot of thought, and I loved everything I was doing. Like, so it was quite a cool experience for me as well. My retreat experience, just getting to step into that and see how that unfolded.
So within all our disorganized, if you might call it disorganization, there was order. My point in this is, you know, whether it's I'm delivering content, delivering a podcast, or building a retreat or building a business, I do it the same way. Like, I think there's a power in actually stepping and getting yourself out of the way. And as long as you keep showing up, like I'm not talking about, you know, me sitting here on my bum and just going, well, the universe is going to take care of everything. I show up. I'm willing to fail. I'm willing to have my heart broken. I'm willing to get rejected. I'm willing to, like, I'm willing. There's a willingness there. As long as you have that, like, things do take care of themselves. So here's an example of not only, like, I talk about this all the time, me showing up empty, and the content and the training always comes out. But here's an event that comes together. Now, someone might be going, well, if Christina wasn't there, you would have been really screwed. But you could keep.
You would have.
But that's the thing. It's just.
It's perfect the way it was.
Isn't it? You know, I mean, you were there, Danny, right? So, and this is why we have you there. Like, am I like?
No. I mean,
what was your experience?
It's so interesting to hear that there was so much that wasn't planned. But I guess I also felt that. I felt from when I arrived and everyone I connected with, everyone was just like present and just flowing. And I guess that's like, I would have thought that you had planned a lot of the stuff that you ended up doing, Christina. So the fact that it just came to you as you arrived and everything, that's beautiful. It doesn't surprise me, though, now that I'm at this end of my journey here.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, well,
it's the same in the circle as well, though, isn't it, Zoghi? Not just like, you know, what we do to set things up, but it's like in the circle, you're empty. You're not bringing anything into that. You're completely empty.
Yeah. Well, you know, one of the things that I really wanted to share in particular for this retreat is to get people to actually experience what it's like to participate or to create a result from being empty. You know, let's go to the mantra. You know, my mantra that I share with people that allows them to, you know, remove themselves out of the way. It allows them to drop in to the now, not just be present, because there's difference. Because when you're present, it has a reference of the past and the future. When you're in the now, that's all there is. So this mantra that I share with people, it helps them to remove themselves out of the way, to get into the now. And I teach that to help people to get into what I call a pondering state. And I'll just quickly share this. I don't know, have we ever spoken about this mantra on the podcast? I don't think I ever have.
I don't know if you have.
Okay. Well,
steer away from. Yeah.
Well, we steer away from content. And the reason we do that is because I have a YouTube channel which releases all the content. All my coaching content is being released for free, just in case you're new to this. It's all there on my YouTube channel, and they're called Truth Bumps. And so we try to not go into content, but it's really important to talk about this, because this is exactly the same process for the retreat. So I teach people this mantra, right? Do you remember it? Yeah. What's the first one?
There's nowhere to be.
There's nowhere to be. Just with his voice that he said, like, there's nowhere to be.
We need to get him to record it.
I know, right? So I get people to say, there's nowhere to be, there's nothing to do, there's nothing to accomplish, and there's nothing to figure out. But I share with them the importance of not saying that as an affirmation, because you don't want to say that as an affirmation. You want to say it as a mantra. In my view, the difference between the affirmation and a mantra is that an affirmation, you're saying something that you want to be true. You're trying to make it true. You're trying to make that real. You're trying to make a change by saying an affirmation, but it's not real at the moment. You're trying to make that real. You're trying to make that into your reality. Where and a mantra, you're actually saying something that's actually true. You know, and it's actually allowing. So when I say to when I get my clients to say there's nowhere to be, I say that statement, but don't say it as an affirmation. Say there's nowhere to be, and then just pause. And then just say and just acknowledge, hang on, yeah, there's nowhere to be. So you say there's nowhere to be, you then acknowledge there's nowhere to be, and pause again until you actually drop into that and you actually realize, oh, and it kind of feels like that. There really is nowhere to be, right? And you know, this doesn't work if you're obviously, you know, trying to be somewhere. And, you know, like when I get people to do this, I get them to, you know, give yourself 30 minutes or 60 minutes and go, you know, for 60 minutes, I'm gonna actually just sit here. And then you say there's nowhere to be. Acknowledge that. Realize that. There's nothing to do. Acknowledge that. Realize that there's nothing to accomplish. Acknowledge that, realize that there's nothing to figure out. Acknowledge that and realize that. And obviously I'm speeding up through this, and there's actually a guided meditation that I take people through this, and we did it at the retreat, and Danny's been bugging me this morning going, when are we getting a copy of that?
Yes, I'm going back this week.
Well, you know, we have this thing called internet, and I'll send it to you.
Well, I'm curious though from Danny, because like we started with that, like day one, you led the meditation on that, Amir, and you'd never really walked us through that in a meditation before. Like it was more, you know, in content and stuff where you shared that and had us go ponder. What was that like for you, Danny? Just like from the get-go, like there's nowhere to be, just starting with that.
Yeah, it was.
What was your experience originally from it?
For me, I guess, I mean, I've been doing the mantra from home for a long time, and I've always had so much head noise when I would do it. So I never really well, I can look back. I never really fully dropped in, even though there was some space made. I can just say, I honestly never landed to how I landed at the retreat. And I just think partly, I guess, I set it up to where I was here and I showed up 100% present. So then when we came into the circle and then you guided us through that, it was just like, I think I told you, I never felt, acknowledged, and realized each part of that as deep as I did at the retreat. And I actually am still doing. And you gave me an extra piece to add to it, because you remember there was in the circle talking about vulnerability. And I think for me, it's like, I've really, spent my whole life protecting myself, and you gave this advice to somebody else, but there was adding the part of there's nothing to protect. And so for me, it's a 5-part mantra.
Yeah, actually, there was someone in the circle that realized that, who added that. And I was like, well, that's...
No, you added it for her.
Did I?
Yeah.
I don't remember.
I remember it crystal clearly, because I latched onto it right when it happened. And actually, we bonded as a result of...
There's nothing to protect. I mean, and that's yeah. There is a difference to someone trying to apply that on their own. And you're a coaching client of mine for a number of 2.5 years. I've been you've been working with my facilitators previously, but I've been personally working with you in the last 6 months or so, I would say. And then this is the first retreat you got to come. Actually, on a side note, because I loved what he said about this, and we're in the retreat, and I said, "Wow, Danny, like this is coming to the end of the retreat, and everyone's kind of expressing the gratitude, the appreciation, and what they got from the program, and you said something really profound, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you said, I've never felt this much love ever in my entire life." Is that true?
That's true.
Is that still true?
It's still true. The space, the connection with 23 people, with no judgment, no expectations, 100% present, and connecting. It's made a big impact on me. Yeah, I'm getting warm. Just
I can see your eyes are twitching, like you're connecting to that space again.
No, it's going to be a strong reference point for me. Always.
Well, when you said that, and I was like, well, Danny, you've been on this journey. You've been doing my work for 2.5 years, and like I said, I've been working with you personally in the last 6 months. But you've been invited to come to the retreat. Like, how many times in the last 2.5 years? And this is your first retreat.
3 times. Well, part of it was COVID. That didn't happen. But they were always planned a bit last minute, and work always took precedence. So this time, at least, we had a long lead time. And luckily, because Chris wanted to move up the date, that worked up even better.
So one of the things I said to you in that moment is like, you know what, Danny, if you knew that if you're sitting here right now and you're now going to talk to a version of you from 2.5 years ago or 2 years ago, and you told that version of you, hey, this is what you're going to get in this retreat, would you have...
I'm laughing because you took me for a ride with that one, because I just said... I can't even think about that, Amir.
You couldn't leave the moment.
And then as I was talking about everything that I realized for myself, and then I just landed like, fuck. Well, sorry, it just came out.
We can swear.
It's a great podcast. It's okay.
I would have come earlier if I knew that this was how it was going to be.
But what about work? But what about your story? What about all the limitations of, besides COVID, what about all the things that held you back from coming to the retreat?
You know what? I still will come back to this.
Yeah.
This retreat was perfect for me as it was.
As it was, yeah.
Because I actually got to hear about other retreats and stuff. And I just think the way I showed up, the people that showed up, and our connection, it was just meant to be this way. So I can't even say I would go back and say I would be here a year earlier. Because the version of me that you see now is who had to be here.
It's the version that was ready.
Yeah.
It took you 2.5 years to be ready. But sometimes, when I see that, when I hear someone like you say that, I was just like, if only I could just, if there was a way that I could magically get someone who is wanting to come to this retreat or to a retreat with me, but they've all got hurdles. Everyone's got hurdles. Everyone's got, it's not the right time. Well, there's the financial component, or what if it doesn't work for me? There's all these things. They're just called barriers or hurdles, right? Everyone's got those. Sometimes I just go, if only, if this work is for them. I'm not interested in working with someone this is not for. And obviously, anyone who's listening to this podcast, well, this is obviously for you, especially if you're still listening after the beginning we had of this podcast. But, it's just like, if only I could put that in some kind of pill, right? And it would be so awesome for them. Just feel what it's going to feel like, just for 1 minute, what it's going to feel like if you were to, transcend some of those barriers. And I just think suddenly everyone will be there. You just don't know what you're going to get from it, because suddenly finances and time. We all have the exact amount of hours in a day. Doesn't matter who you are. We've all got the exact amount of hours in a day. We all spend that differently according to what's most important. We've got the same amount of hours in a week. We've got the same amount of hours in a year, in a month. But we spend our time according to the things that are most important for us. So someone just doesn't know. They don't know what they're going to get from this, because if they did, it just would move up in the priority list. And suddenly and I always say, you always got enough time and enough money for what's most important for you. You just don't know yet what you're going to get from this, from these retreats.
But I think I even said it in my expression to you, is that I didn't know what I didn't know.
Yeah.
And
now you know.
Now I know.
Now you know. I love what Kathleen said. She's just like, Kathleen, she someone else was at the event, and I sent an email about this just today actually, about, she's like, I can't go back, and by that meaning back to my limitations, back to the old version of me. It's people walking to this retreat. And I don't want this to sound like a podcast about an advertisement, because it's not. What are we trying to accomplish here, Chrissy, in this podcast? You said it to me before.
Yeah, I want to share a little bit of the magic from the retreat. Like, what is the experience like? What's your experience like? To facilitate it, and what was like Danny and my experience to be there.
Yeah.
It's I wish that I could put that in a little bottle and send it to someone, because it's so hard to actually convey that feeling. But I think we're giving some glimpses here. And you know what I was thinking?
Yeah.
They're not even available. Hopefully they will be soon.
Putting this in a feeling in a bottle and sending it? It's coming out soon.
No, but
it's called The One. Comes in a bottle, and I send it to you via the ocean, and it will come to your coastline, near the coastline closest to you. Anyway, sorry, go on.
No, but actually, when you had said that these meditations that you did at the retreat are going to be available, you've never done that before. So I feel like here's a little glimpse of, and it won't even be a fraction of what you experience at the retreat, but it will give you a glimpse of that, because so I'm really excited that those are going to be out there.
Are they going to be the, because you had a really powerful meditation where you connected with an old version of yourself. That's going to be one, I think, that if people listening can actually connect to that. Because for me at the retreat, I told you that I connected with 8-9-year-old version of me that I didn't even realize needed healing.
Yeah.
And then to feel the power of that complete version of myself be able to enter me was amazing. So
Yeah.
between the mantra and that one, those were my two favorite.
But I'm gonna we recorded these and I recorded for the people who are at the retreat and so they can revisit it and as you know, I know you're keen to get yours, Danny, and then we may make it available for people to purchase it as well as some of my guided meditations. For those who have done my oneness meditation, it's a very profound, popular meditation. So if you've done that, you know what you're in for with some of these guided meditations. But the question I'm going to ask is like, is it the same as listening? If someone is not at the retreat, like we shared a space together. Like I'm getting goosebumps as I'm talking about this. We shared a space together as we did this guided meditation. We were not only in one moment, but we were also in the same space. And it was really, really profound. And I think, you revisiting some of those guided meditations is going to take you back there because you're already in that space. Don't get me wrong. Someone's going to maybe purchase one of these guided meditations and they're still going to get something truly amazing, but nothing will compare with actually being there and experiencing it in the same room, in the same moment, in the same space. And I feel it's the space that we hold together, the space that gets created, that manifests, that is where the true power is, personally.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why I said a fraction. It'll be a fraction of it, but it's a glimpse,
But geez, that one fraction is going to be wow. Yeah. Okay, so
what you were sharing just now, Amir, it's like you have these people that came from all different corners of the world, all over Europe, America, Australia. No one from Asia this time, but we do sometimes, and it's just like. And they're from all different walks of life, like socioeconomically, like some are moms, some are entrepreneurs, some are all different walks of life. And what is it? Like they showed up and immediately, like it just felt like, sure, there's a little bit of nervousness, but like immediately it felt like everyone was just in it and
drops in.
Like what is it? What do you think it is that brings
it's the space
together like that?
It's the space. It's the, it's finding a group of people who are willing. They're very, very like-minded. It's the people that come and, I don't know if I should say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. When I do a lot of my services for free, and then I have services that people pay premium dollars for. Retreats, more elite coaching groups, if you like, if I can call them elite. But there's a big difference between the free programs and the paid programs, and it's not like I'm going to give them less in the free program. I'll give them everything. But I had someone the other day who I noticed dropped out of a free program, and it's free. Like, why are you going to drop out? And so I just messaged her, because we have all my groups, all my coaching groups, anything I run, we have a WhatsApp group so we can communicate as a group. And they dropped out. I haven't told you this, Danny. And she might listen to this and go, yeah, that was me. I think she's a beautiful soul, this lady. And anyway, so when I saw she dropped out, I was like, oh, I'm curious. Why did she drop out? Like, why did she drop out of the group? So I just said, hey, I noticed you dropped out of the group. And normally I never follow someone up and go, hey, you dropped out. You do whatever you want. I'm here. I'll offer what I offer. And if it's for you, it's for you. But I know that this is for her because I've worked with her in the past, and I said, I noticed you dropped out, and I'm wondering if you're willing to tell me why you dropped out, if you're open to actually share with me. And she just was like, oh, Amir, she sent me a voice message back and said, I just, some of the things people were saying, and it got actually a little bit rough in this group. Somebody told someone else to go to hell. It's like, it got rough, and then they told me to go to hell. It's just like, and we had to remove it from the. But anyway, long story short, she's just like, you know what? It's not for me. It's not, and yeah, I just, maybe I want to, like, I need to do a program that's paid. Because I think, of course, you're going to get different type of people who do the paid program. Now, I don't do this free program to try to get people to come do a paid program. I do the free program because I truly, in my heart, I genuinely want to offer that. But I just know, and anyone knows, it's different. And I said to her, I responded back, and some people were going to hate me for saying this, but it's the truth. I said, well, look, I totally understand. I said, it was never for you, because you're for you, it is. I mean, she's coming to the next retreat. You'll probably meet her. So I'm going to see her. The next retreat is in Los Angeles in July. And but I said to her, when you deliver this work, and this doesn't stop me, by the way, when you deliver this work for free, it's like going to a bad neighborhood, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but it's like going to a bad neighborhood. It doesn't mean there's bad people there, right? It just means, because you could go to a bad neighborhood and there's some really good people there, but you're going to get a mixture of everything. Do you understand? So the like-mindedness of the people is spread. It's a smorgasbord. You're getting someone there that's totally driven by an agenda. You're getting somebody there who just wants to show how much they know and how conscious they are. You're getting somebody there who's just trying to network and get clients. You're getting somebody there who's genuinely loves the work and wants to rediscover themselves and self-realize, but they just have huge financial barriers and just can't do it. So, but that's the thing, it's with everything, in society, there is some barriers. Like, and when you get someone who's actually then going and paying towards I'm coming to my point to you, Christina. Mm-hmm. You get someone who's gone and invested like a few $1,000s to a retreat. Suddenly, now you're taking these people to a different neighborhood, if that makes sense. And again, I want to say this. I don't mean, when I say a bad neighborhood, like I just said, there's always good, really good people in a bad neighborhood. I know, but sometimes my audience might go, "What are you saying? People who don't have money are not worthy?" No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying when I offer, because when what took place, this client of mine, she goes, I actually felt, like it was sweet, because I felt like she was concerned about how I would take it, because somebody told me to go to hell. And she was like, I'm sure that's never happened before, but how are you after that happened? I'm like, I'm fine. Like, I don't see that as I see that she needs help, and I'm just, if anything, I'm upset I can't help her, and she's blocked off, right? Like, I don't see that because she's pissed that tells me to go to hell or whatever, or tells her, that's not my stuff, that's her stuff. Do you understand? Now, how I react to that is my stuff, right? If I'm reacting versus responding, that's my stuff. But it's like, don't worry about me. I'm totally fine. So absolutely, yeah.
I think that's what's beautiful about the retreat and the process, is that you're meeting people, all different walks of life, but with the goal of being their best selves. And you do see all these different processes, and you can separate it. Like, oh, that's her process or his process. That's my process. And I have so much more clarity on that now, having been to a retreat, than I had before I went to the retreat.
Yeah. So yeah, thanks, Danny. I get it, and and this lady said to me, I don't know how you've got the patience, because I know what I'm going to get when I offer something for free. I know I'm going to get a smorgasbord of people, and I told her, but there's one out of 100. It could be 1,000. It could be 500, but one person out of 100 that not only I will impact, because I would impact more than one person, but one person would truly rise up and become part of the ripple effect and impact so many other people's lives. I mean, I'm sure Penelope, I didn't want to mention her name.
It's okay.
But Penelope, who was at the last retreat, and she gave us, you did an interview with her, and I watched the interview and I was just like, it was so raw, and it's now on our retreat page. Yeah. And she said something so profound. She said, before I met Amir, she said that I was in such a dark place. I think she said I was willing to take my own life. Is that correct? Did I hear that correctly? Something along those lines?
Yeah, she said if it hadn't been for this work, she might not be here.
And you know what? And I'm glad that she's here, because she is such a beautiful soul. And what she shares in that interview with you, about how she truly loves herself now, and she's never been able to say that. I'm going to show you this video. It's beautiful. But you know what I see? I see that not only has she saved her life, but can you imagine her son, her sons, her kids? It doesn't only impact your life. I mean, if you were to be in such a dark place that you are potentially willing to consider or even have the thoughts of taking your own life, but then to turn that around, to go, I love myself. I see the ripple effect of that, not just the impact that I've made. Let's just say I've made. I don't want to even say that, but the impact that this work has made in her life. But then I see the ripple effect of that, that flows on to her children or to the other people that love her. That's what I see, and isn't it funny? I didn't plan to say this. I think you were about to say it, Christina, weren't you?
No, you go ahead.
No, you say it, because you came. We did. You were talking about the 1 in 100 thing we did. Are we?
It's okay. You say it.
You say it. You say it, because you tell everyone what we did. We did this.
Yeah.
Go. You go.
So just speaking of things for free, we did something that, back in the day, we've called it different things, but let's call it the love experiment as well. But it was called the 100-Day Challenge, and we put it out to the world on socials and said, hey, look, if you're willing to submit a video saying why you would be good for this challenge, we will give you 100 days worth of coaching for free. So they got basically all of your programs for free, and they got weekly coaching with a facilitator like me or Anna, and so many people applied. I can't remember how many from the get-go, but I think it was close to 100 people.
Well, it was meant to get 100 people, so it was close to 100.
I think there was close to 100 people, and then we whittled down those interviews, and we were like, let's go with this 30 people, and we kicked off, and just week to week people kept dropping off, and then finally it came to the end of the 100 days, and a few people were still around, but the only person who was then willing to say, I am not stopping, I am continuing, was Penelope.
Yeah.
And she put down, she said, I'm going to continue, I'm going to pay for the programs, I'm going to keep going. Yeah. And she was the only one.
So this was like a social experiment we decided to do. So find 100 people that we can give 100 days of full coaching. So they were getting all my, they were getting calls with me. They were getting calls with the facilitator. They were getting my content. And when I say calls with me, it was with the Ask AZ group. And it's just like, give them as much as they can, because if they see the value, right, the question is, will they then pay for it? Pay for, because after 100 days, it's finished, right? But of course, there's more after 100 days. You're not going to it's like if you go to the gym for 100 days and then you start getting results and you start feeling amazing and you start, life starts to change, right? Your results start to change. You start to feel amazing. But after 100 days, are you going to go, oh, I'm not going to continue, even though you got the 100 days for free? Well, of course. And that was the experiment. If we gave 100 people 100 days for absolute free, no agenda, just what would happen? Would they see the value to then continue and actually invest in themselves, to continue to invest in themselves, to continue to go to the gym, if you like? And out of 100 people, only one continued, and that's Penelope. And that's the story of Penelope. She's a beautiful soul, and I love working with her. And that was the second retreat. And how she continued was she came to a retreat. That's the story. The story was, well, the 100 days is finished. Does anyone actually want to come to a retreat? She was the only one. And she's from America. She flew all the way to Australia, to a country she's never been to. She's never met me except for through the videos, or Christina.
Left her son for the first time ever.
Which was a big deal. It was a big deal for her. It was a massive process to leave her. And we won't go into that story, but that was. Yeah. But that's what I mean. That's why I do the things that I do for free, because it's to find the one. To find the one in the many. And is, sometimes, and don't get me wrong, even though I might find one, I've still impacted, 99 or 90 or 80, whatever it is, other people. Because, let's be honest, when something's free, a lot of people don't even show up to the calls or listen to the recordings, or, that happens. So the numbers drop dramatically. But even if I still impact, let's say 50 people. Yeah, but there's different levels of impact. Some people you impact and they'll realize, I've had someone come up to me before and go, oh man, you changed my life. There's people in the street sometimes come up, not that often, but sometimes they go, I've been watching your videos and man, you changed my life. I go, oh really? How? And then goes, I left my wife. It's just like, it sounds terrible. It's like, no man, I'm free now. And I left my job, or I started this job, or I started this business, or I got into a relationship. And sometimes it's just little things. It's just one-off things that has a ripple effect in their life. But sometimes some of these people want to take that to a far deeper level. And I believe the ripple effect becomes far bigger. I've got no doubt that Penelope is a ripple effect in this world.
I'm going to have to share with her that she was basically on this podcast with us, even though she wasn't here.
Well, we need to have her as a guest.
I know.
This might be an ongoing thing, having people as a guest. Yeah.
Yeah. I wanted to say, just bringing it back, because this whole thread of conversation started with me asking you, what is it that brings everyone together at the retreat? And you were saying it's that space. And it's what creates that space? Think when you were saying to Danny, if you had known then what you know now, would you have decided to come? And it's well, I can't go back and tell you from that version, but think about everyone that came to this retreat had to go through some sort of adversity, whether it was financial or otherwise, in order to make that decision, despite the noise in their story, to be there.
Absolutely.
To make that commitment to themselves, to say yes to that feeling, to answer that yearning deep from their soul. And that is what in my feeling, like creates that space.
Absolutely, Christina. Well said. That was the point I was driving to, but you know me, I take a tangent on my conversations.
Yeah. Well,
but
that's why I bring you back.
That's why you're Christina, the voice of the people. But that's exactly right. It's because you're not gonna, you've got a certain person who, it took you 2 years, but there was a point where the barrier, it wasn't going to hold you back, and you came to a retreat. So whether it was, I'm not going to repeat what Christina said. She said it perfectly. So when you start to get a certain person, like they're not only like-minded, but it's like they've got a certain level of willingness that brings them to that space. So that's what I always say. It's the space. It's the space that's really special. But what makes that space, of course, I mean, I won't say my facilitation. It's the people. It's the people who decide to be there. It's the people who no one's like, there's always some level of discomfort, I mean, talking about how many hours did you travel to get to Australia?
27 hours.
27 hours. Like, there's a little bit of discomfort to go to a retreat on the other side of the world and spend thousands of dollars, not just for the retreat, but, for flights and, all that jazz. So you're not going to get everyone doing that. So that just qualifies.
It has, I just want to add to what you were saying, because that whole metaphor about the bad neighborhood ruffled any feathers, you're missing the point, because people come to this retreat who are not well off. Do you know what I mean? It's about you following.
Well, some of them are well off.
Some of them are, but I'm saying
all kinds.
Some of them aren't.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. Is that it's all kinds of people and all kinds of adversity.
Yeah.
I
So
was going to say what you were saying. I think that it also takes people being at a certain stage with your work or in life with what's happening. Because for me, the first year and a half of doing your work, it took me so long just to get into and actually hear and feel the message of like, how do you feel? Because fundamentally, all of this is about how do you feel and accepting how you feel. And I guess, for the first part of my journey was trying to just make space and all that, but it's like, how do you feel? And now I look back and it's like, God, it was there all the time. Yeah. So I think once I got through that, and then some other parts of my journey, it's like, I mean, this version of me that showed up was ready.
Yeah. So that's it. And I never, like from a marketing point of view, we always want to market to someone who's ready, first of all, if someone who's looking, but I've got people who've been like, it blows me away, when I offer some of my services and, somebody shows up in my Ask AZ calls, which is the free calls. And they're like, I've been following you for 8 years or 10 years. I'm like, wow. And I've never even met them, and I'd love to get them to, because that's what happens at a retreat. It's, you get to actually have a direct experience of some of the things that you're feeling from actually listening to some of my coaching content. Because that's why you listen to that coaching content, because of how it makes you feel. It's some of the things that are dropping in for you, some of the things that you're realizing. But to take that to a point of being able to, like completely live it, like it's the retreat. So anyway, I will continue doing what I'm doing. I will continue as long as it's being received. I'll continue to do the services that I do for free, and I will continue to do the services where I'm now running a retreat. This is the first time, Danny, that I'm taking my one retreat overseas. I've been running it since 2010, so that's 24. It was that 14 years, not 24. 14 years. I've been speaking for 20 years or so, but 14 years I'm on this retreat. and I've never run it overseas. And there was points in my business where I was actually running this one retreat 3 times a year. And it's always been in Australia because I'm like, well, people can come to me. If it's worth it, they'll come. But now that I've realized that I'm no longer going to go up and run my Limitless, which is my signature programs, I'm not going to go to Portugal. Last year we did Los Angeles, we did Sydney, we went to Portugal, and I ran those Limitless events. You were at the Limitless event. So, and someone might go, well, why not? Why? Because I released it for free on YouTube. So it kind of feels weird to go and run an event that's already free on YouTube. I mean, I don't even know how to price that. It became really, and I was speaking to you about this morning, it became really clear for me that, I mean, how much am I impacting someone's life in one day? I mean, a lot. I'll say that myself. But how much can I impact them? And do I impact them over 5 days where they actually disconnect from their story? And actually they're having a real tangible experience of something that they've been having a theoretical experience of. Now, don't get me wrong, the theoretical experience is still wonderful and it's still amazing, it's still life-changing, but nothing compares to actually having a tangible out of body. Some of them it's been out of body experience. It's like that changes you forever. That's not a temporary change that sometimes people feel. Sometimes people have that suntan effect. You get a suntan. You've been enjoying yourself in Bondi over the last week. Get yourself a suntan. Suntan never lasts. You can't. It will go away after a week or two. And unfortunately, that's what how most people experience any transformational work is they get the suntan or any work. To truly be a lifelong, eternal experience, you need to become that change. And as Gandhi said, you need to be the change you want to see in the world. But to be the change, you need to have that deeper, direct experience of yourself, of who you are. So, yeah, but Christina, at the beginning I talked about, there's nowhere to be, nothing to do, nothing to accomplish, nothing to figure out. What I was saying about that is like when I've shared that with people online, they've been like, I've been saying that, I feel much more relaxed, I feel much more, and I'm like, oh, that's awesome, that's great. But listen to me, I use that in my business. I teach people that to help them become present, to help them become less stressful, to help them get into what I call the pondering state, which is a flow state, right? But guys, I just showed you this retreat. Like, I use that in my business. I use it, and everything that I've accomplished, I come from the space of there's nowhere to be, nothing to do, nothing to accomplish, nothing to figure out. What most people misinterpret when they hear that, they think to themselves, well, that means I'm not going to do anything, or that means I'm not going to accomplish anything. No. It means the little you is not attempting and trying and pushing and grinding and putting blood and sweat into trying to make that happen, trying to accomplish that. What does it mean when the little you, and by the little you, I'm referring to the drop of the ocean. What happens when the little you gets itself out of the way? Well, the big you moves. What's that? The ocean. Rumi, the great Persian poet, said, we are not the drop in the ocean, we are the entire ocean in that drop. The drop cannot move the ocean. Its impact is very small. But the ocean is always moving the drop. All I'm doing is getting people to remove the little self out of the way. Remove the barriers between the little self and the big self. If you can remove the barriers between the little self and the big self, you become the big self, motherfucker. Do you know? See, you can swear on this podcast. But, and someone's thinking, well, why did you have to ruin such a beautiful thing you were just saying with a swear word? I'm sorry. I'm sorry about that.
Well, I love what you were just saying, because literally right before we started this podcast, Danny was just saying, like, since the retreat, he's had, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you were saying, like, you've recognized that difference of when you're switching from the little to the big Danny so much more deeply.
Yeah, but Danny's going to get to a place where he's just going to be the big Danny, because the little Danny, won't have any, have any role anymore.
What I can say, what's changed is just what you just said. I'm fully aware now, and I see little Danny. But he's not as loud as he was before I came to the retreat.
Yeah, because little Danny is now this. If you're watching the video, I've got my little pinky finger. That's little Danny now, right? But big Danny is the whole hand. There's only so much. My father taught me this. There's only so much you can do with one finger, but with a whole hand, you can pick up this whole microphone, pick up this whole glass. I can't pick up this glass with my little pinky finger. And unfortunately, most people are trying to survive and thrive in their lives by using their little finger, by using the little. So, and just in case you're like, oh, what do you mean about the big you? Is this religious? No, nothing I talk about is religion. It's infinite energy. We all have an infinite capacity, and I just believe that we don't use it. They've already said that we use less than 10% of our brain capacity potential. We haven't learned how to tap into more of our capacity in our brain. Well, that's because we haven't learned or understand the capacity of who we truly are, because we're not just a human, we are a human being. And most people identify themselves only as the human, and they unfortunately disregard the being part. What was it Kira said? Kira in the retreat, she goes, most people want to believe in,
everybody wants something to happen with magic.
No, everybody wants to believe in magic.
No. Everybody wants like a magic solution, but nobody's willing to believe in magic.
That's it.
Yeah.
I think that was an Alice in Wonderland quote. So say it again. Well, that's what she told me as an Alice in Wonderland. Say it one more time. It's beautiful.
Everyone wants a magical solution, but nobody's willing to believe in magic.
Yeah, because no one's believing to back themselves completely. They only back themselves as a human, but the being, which is our soul, which is the part of you that is it's the energetic part. Everyone disregards that as, well, that's not real. Okay? Well, you are in every single moment choosing what's real, either your limitations or your infiniteness. Every single moment, you're going, I'm limited or I'm infinite. We're choosing every single moment. And the moment that you're not choosing, you're choosing limitation. Because when you're unaware, you're unconscious, you just fall automatically to limitation. Now, it's still, by not making a choice, you're still making a choice. So you need to consciously choose. Anyway, I've gone into content, but I think it's been important, just so, Anyway, the point that I was trying to make, tell them I'm not ready. You got to go. You need to go. You told me you need to go by 12:30, and it's past 12:30. He needs to go to the Northern Beaches today. He hasn't been to the Northern Beaches.
With this rain, I don't think I'm going to.
No, okay. So I told him this podcast. Well, we'll be done 1 hour. It's been like. But anyway, my point was, we started by talking about how this retreat was run, and you think to yourself, wow, you started off by telling us how this is the most unprepared you've been for a retreat. But even in that, as long as I'm showing up, things take care of themselves. As long as I can drop into, there's nowhere to be, nothing to do, nothing to accomplish, nothing to figure out, things show up. You're another drop of the ocean. You then feel moved. I'm coming to the retreat. I'm going to do, the story, like I always like to say, the story bends. But if I'm freaking out, going, oh my God, this is, I've got no one running the retreat. I then bend around the story. and it changes it. But for me, when I'm about to attend a retreat, the first thing I do is I empty myself. And by empty myself is there's nowhere to be, nothing to do, nothing to accomplish, nothing to figure out. So when suddenly I'm realizing, we don't have anyone running this event, it doesn't concern me because there's nowhere to be, nothing to do, and look what happens. Danny didn't even notice. Here he is. He didn't even notice that. I didn't even notice. The thing was just...
But for me, I really like the unstructured aspect of it. And I think that's also what drew me in more. So just to go with the moment.
Well, look, I don't know if we're coming...
Magic is.
It's where the magic is. Well, now, I don't know if we...
You allow it.
if you remove yourself out of the way.
Right. Yeah, we are coming up to the end, is what you were getting to.
Can I just leave people with one more thing?
Yes.
Okay. And this is something, again, it's in my meditation, but I just want you to understand, if you can imagine yourself as the little you saying, there's nowhere to be, I'm going to give you a insight, a second verse of this. And the second verse is you as the big you responding to you saying there's nowhere to be. Can I do that really quickly for everyone?
Yeah.
Okay. So, there's nowhere to be. I am here. There's nothing to do. I am whole. There's nothing to accomplish. I am enough. There's nothing to figure out. I am knowing. That's all.
Thanks for that, Zogs. What
That's
a great way to wrap things up today. So nice to have Danny with us today.
Danny, it's been an awesome pleasure.
Really?
Had a great time.
Little me would have protested about all this, but big me.
Oh yeah, little him came here and goes, you got a camera here and there's lights. I thought we're doing a podcast. I'm like, oh no, the camera's just there. We don't have to use it. And it's like, I thought this was audio.
Yeah, I remember in Portugal you were like, no, I'm not going on the camera.
That's little me.
Oh, there you go.
Seriously, been
so
a pleasure.
How do you feel about being?
No, it's been great. I've been connected the whole time. Yeah. The important thing is to stay connected with myself.
Yeah. You must have had a great teacher.
And it's also great with you, great with Christina. Our connection is very good. So.
Yeah.
Good on you, Danny. It's been a pleasure, and I've enjoyed.
I like touching my heart when I feel it.
I love that.
Yeah, for those of you listening in that can't see Danny, he has this lovely way of when he's really connecting and sharing, he'll put his hand over his heart and you can just really feel it. So, Thanks, Danny. It's been awesome. I hope you have fun on your travels and today, and maybe we'll get to have you back on here sometime. Hear what's going on the flip side when you get back to Stockholm.
Yeah, no, thank you, Danny. I really appreciate you being here, mate. It's been awesome. I've had a great week with the retreat with you, and lots of little, more to come. Yeah, absolutely. There's Watch This Space with Danny, ladies and gentlemen. Penelope, you're next. We got to get Penelope on the podcast. Aren't we going to see her in America in July?
We are. Maybe we can record it in person.
Penelope, would you like to be a guest on my podcast?
It's official. It's out there.
But before we go, Christina,
yes.
How was your experience of running that retreat? Like you stepped in without even being asked. So why did you step in? Were you following your feeling? And what was, and to the point, just so everyone knows, after we wrapped up that retreat, I rang Leah. I said, are you definitely coming for the next retreat in America? And she's like, yep, no, I'll definitely be there. And I go, good, because we kind of need someone to run it. And can you please make sure that you start taking control and taking charge and speaking to the next venue and making sure with everything. And then she was starting to do that. And Christina came and went, I'm happy to keep running this. Like I was enjoying running the last retreat. Can I run the next one? I was like, sure. I mean, it's what I pay Leah for, but happy for you to run it. So that's been your story. What was your experience of just taking ownership of that? By the way, I always say leadership is not given, it's taken. And you just took it like a boss. You just took it.
Yeah, it was such a great process because I didn't have a whole lot of thought as it was happening, and it just felt very much in the flow. And I was like, oh, this is what Amir talks about. It's not that I haven't had those experiences before, but it just felt like from start to finish, like just being really present with it and loving it. And it wasn't that I wasn't like you say, it's not about then I'm checking out and letting the universe take care of things. Like I was busy. I was, having to take care of things. There was things to take care of, but I just loved it. I loved, and just upon reflection now I can see that it's like part of who I am, that I love to nurture and to hold space and to take care of people and to create those experiences. And so I was naturally getting to do things that fill my heart, I love those things. So it just, and what was interesting though, is that I was like, I'm coming, and I had to sit out of some of the experiences while I was there. I was in the DJ booth rather than in the circle for some of the meditations. And I felt like I still had the most profound experience. I was still right there with you guys, but having my own of the meditation sort of in the doing. And so it was really cool to get to have that, my own. I mean, everybody has their own experience, right? When they come to the retreat, that's just for them. And that was mine, I still feel like I took away so much from that, and just my own direct experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
My own direct experience of what it is to be in the flow and live, how you share, you live. So,
Christina, have I ever told you that I really enjoy working with you?
I think you have, but
I was telling Danny this morning, and it's another podcast, so I'm not. You can tell we don't plan any of this. Weren't we wrapping up 5 minutes ago? Didn't we say thanks for being on the podcast? And you can tell we're not planning any of this. But I just, next podcast, I want to talk about my process of how, how I have the team. How we come together as a team. Just we talked about all these clients and all these people coming together at these retreat experiences. There's also a process of the team and how the team members who are truly meant to be here are here. Yeah. And I'd love to, there's some important things. Like one of the things that your process is, and we can talk about this as a teaser for next week's or next episode. But you recently said to me, you've quit working with me twice. Let me just say that. And one of the last times you quit, you said, I no longer want to swap my time for money. Was that the?
Yeah.
Yeah. And we're just going to leave that as a cliffhanger because we're out of time. But I'd love to talk about that process of how we come together as a team. And if you no longer want to swap your time for money, well, how is this working? Do you work for Amir or not? Do you get paid? Let's have a conversation about that. What do you reckon? Okay. You down for that?
No, I'm down. No, I think that would be a really cool conversation, and just ditto. I just so love getting to share and work on all of this with you. So makes me a little. So yeah, thanks for saying that, and thank you again, Danny. It's been so good.
Yeah, once again, Danny. So thank you for. Are we really wrapping up? This is what Persians do. Do you know this is a Persian? Look, I'm doing it now. Persians do this. Like, this is my culture. My culture. My background is from. I'm originally from Iran, but that's what when they say goodbye. It takes them about 45 minutes. They walk. They get closer to the door. They get outside of the door. They get to the front yard. It honestly takes them about 45 to an hour to actually go. Okay, we're going. See you.
We're at the car door now. Like.
Yeah. It's almost like you say bye.
Roll the window down.
You hang up. No, you hang up. It's kind of that happens, but no one wants to leave. This podcast has gone way over time. I don't even know how long it's gone, but it's.
I think we have to give Danny the last word, or we'll never.
That's it, yeah. Danny. You got the last word.
Yep.
I don't know if I have a last word.
But that's it. He just said it.
Well, then that's it.
Thanks, guys. See you next time.
See you on the next one. Thanks, guys.
Hey, guys. Well done. You've just completed this video. How do you feel? I'm just here just to remind you that in order for me to continue to support you, it's important for you to continue to support this work. Please like this video and also press subscribe, and remember to press the bell icon as well so you get notified every single time I release a video. I'm going to be releasing so much content here that's going to support you. If you're looking for something even more, like you're looking for a community to be part of, some extra support, some extra coaching, you're looking to share your journey with other people, then go ahead and visit my website at amirzoghi.com, and there'll be some information there on how you can be more involved. Also, I read all the comments. I'd love to hear your experience. I want to release these videos for you. I want to support you. I love to see how it's landing for you. What's your experience of the videos? Do you have any questions? So remember to comment below, and I'll be responding to those messages as well. Thanks, guys. I'll see you on the next video.